Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we're going to focus on the national security interests of Egypt according to the foreign policy priorities that have been witnessed under the tenure of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati in the past few weeks. But we'll be starting straight away with the main top stories that took place for today as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ratified the launch of Egypt With You initiative for the miners of the armed forces and the police martyrs and the victims. The President stressed the necessity of the continued work to enhance the services provided by the Martyrs Honoring Fund and boost its financial resources and management mechanisms to accelerate its ability to respond to the fund's beneficiaries. President al-Sisi made these remarks as he chaired a meeting with the chairman of the fund, Major General Sayyid Al-Ghali, and the executive manager of the fund, Major General Ahmed Al-Ash'al. The fund is designated to honor those missed, martyred, victimized or wounded in the anti-terror security operations. The head of state was briefed on the fund's activities to promote the quality of services offered to its beneficiaries in coordination with the concerned authorities. President al-Sisi also listened to the initiatives to be launched by the fund in the upcoming period, where he also ratified comprising martyrs and wounded of the Army elite officers, as well as the civilian martyrs in previous war action into the fund. The President noted that the move comes as part of the state's keenness on honoring the dear sacrifices of the sons and to appreciate their prestigious status. To the same end, President al-Sisi directed the Ministry of Higher Education to define the average exemption and deduction of different scholarships offered to the fund's beneficiaries and the mechanism of implementing such exemptions. Meanwhile, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi asserted that the political solutions are the only means to ensure the regional security and stability. The President made these remarks as he received the phone call from the Cypriot counterpart, Nikos Christodoulides, where he iterated the Egyptian absolute rejection of expanding the conflict in the region and stressed the importance of halting the Israeli military operations on different fronts, given their grave repercussions on the entire region. President al-Sisi called on the international community to shoulder its responsibility in pushing all parties for a peaceful path, pressing for the quick resumption of the US-Iranian nuclear talks being the optimal way to de-escalate the tensions in the region. The President called for hammering out the fair and comprehensive solution to the Palestinian cause as the only guarantee to bringing back the permanent peace and stability to the Middle East. On another front, and still with the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who stressed the Egyptian keen interest in the continued cooperation with the international finance cooperation amid the unfolding regional conditions which pose immense challenges to the developmental programs. The President made these remarks in a meeting with the Managing Director of the International Finance Corporation, Mukhtar Diop, and his deputy in the attendance of Minister of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation, Rania Al-Mashot. President al-Sisi hailed the role that the corporation has played in the cooperation drive with Egypt over the past years. The meeting touched on the future bilateral cooperation for boosting investment flows into Egypt and allowing more funds for the private sector, with the head of state stressing the necessity of such funds should be offered at competitive prices to lower the cost. He pointed out that Egypt adopted a set of structural and economic policies in support of the national financial and economic stability, reiterating the state's keenness on expanding the private sector's engagement in economic and developmental activities. President Al-Sisi highlighted that Egypt also seeks to boost the private sector's confidence in the national economy through offering tax and customs facilities to lower the cost and ease the procedures. He clarified that the government will be launching a number of initiatives to lessen the exports, to develop the productive and services activities, and to increase the number of joint projects between the government and the private sector. The IFC chief, meanwhile, said that he agrees with President Al-Sisi regarding the economic and development priorities, and added that he is looking forward to more fruitful cooperation in the future. And finally, on the sidelines of the financing of development for the private sector conference, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli met with Mukhtar Diop, the Managing Director of the International Finance Corporation in Cairo. Madbouli expressed his appreciation for the strategic partnership between Egypt and the corporation, praising the role that the IFC played in different fields of cooperation with Egypt in recent years. The Prime Minister noted that it is planned to announce the details concerning offering the first Egyptian airport to be operated by the global experienced companies specialized in this field before the end of the year. He also pointed to the previous global experiences of the IFC to offer the management and the operation of aircraft to the private sector companies across the globe. Up next are the main activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi that took place in the past week, all in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi received a phone call from the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi reviews the implementation rates of the projects currently underway as part of the first phase of the presidential initiative Decent Life for the development of the Egyptian countryside. President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi made a phone call to the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. The official spokesperson for the presidency stated that the president extended his congratulations to the Chancellor on his well-deserved victory in the German elections. President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi received a phone call from French President Emmanuel Macron. The call addressed developments in regional and international affairs, as well as the ongoing military escalation in the region. President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi received a phone call from the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. They discussed regional developments and the ongoing Israeli escalation in the region.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate on Nile TV International, and that was a report about the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi. All the events that took place over the past week wrapped up in one report, and we will be heading to another report about the activities of Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati in the Oslo Forum, stating the Egyptian commitment to ending the Gaza war and the aggression by the Israeli occupation forces against the Palestinians, and more specifically the Palestinians living within the Gaza Strip. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati reaffirmed his country's commitment to ending the Israeli war and humanitarian crisis in Gaza Strip, calling for a permanent ceasefire and unhindered delivery of aid. Speaking at Norway's annual Oslo Forum, Abdulati joined a panel discussion on pathways to de-escalation and regional stability. Foreign Minister Abdulati condemned the widespread destruction in Gaza as a deliberate effort to displace its native population and expand Israeli control over the occupied Palestinian territories. He highlighted Egypt's diplomatic role and outlined ongoing efforts to end the bloodshed, secure ceasefire, and guarantee rapid delivery of humanitarian aid. Abdulati criticized Israel's deadly blockade of Gaza imposed on the 2nd of March, which bans food, medical supplies, and aid, weaponizing starvation against 2.3 million Palestinians. He also condemned Israel's resumption of hostilities after unilaterally ending a 2-month truce brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States on the 18th of March. He also referenced the Arab Extraordinary Summit in Cairo last March, at which the Egyptian Prepared Arab Islamic Plan for the Reconstruction of Gaza was adopted. Turning to the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem, Abdulati warned of escalating Israeli military raids, home demolitions, evictions, settlement expansion, and settler violence since October 2023. He stressed the international consensus that a two-state solution remains the only viable route to peace in the region. He called on the international community to recognize the state of Palestine, to advance peace, justice, and stability in the Middle East. On the sidelines of the Oslo Forum, Abdulati met Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan to discuss preparations for the upcoming two-state solution conference in New York. Foreign Minister Abdulati also met with his Syrian counterpart on the sidelines of the forum. This is the second time the two ministers have met. The first meeting occurred during the Arab League ministerial meeting in March. According to a statement by the Egyptian Foreign Ministry, the Syrian Foreign Minister briefed his Egyptian counterpart on recent political, security, and economic developments and internal and external challenges facing Syria. In return, Abdulati reaffirmed Egypt's support for the Syrian people and its backing of the country's stability, unity, and national institutions. He emphasized that lasting stability in Syria requires involving all national forces in a political process that reflects the country's social, religious, sectarian, and ethnic diversity. Moreover, the Egyptian foreign minister stressed the need to combat terrorism and address the issue of foreign fighters to safeguard Syria's long-term stability. The UN-mandated summit, co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia, aims to chart a concrete path to lasting peace.